My parents didn't miss my graduation. They chose Nordstrom with my sister. The text arrived at 7:14 a.m. iPhone screen glowing in my dorm darkness. Can't make it today. Ashley needs a new wardrobe for her gap year. Here's $40 for brunch. You understand, sweetie. $40 for 4 years at Stanford. By 10 a.m., I placed their programs on seats 12 and 13 Stanford Stadium, front section, sunlight beating down on empty red cushions. Around me, 1,643 families screamed and cried. In front of me, 2 shadows where mine should have been. I didn't post anything. My roommate's father did those vacant seats, those untouched programs, that lone graduate, 2.1 million views by evening. Dad's entire law firm saw it. Mom's country club. Then my phone exploded with calls I didn't answer. The email arrived at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in April. I was sitting in the library where I'd spent most of my undergraduate existence, 3rd floor, northeast corner, the desk by the window that overlooked Palm Drive. My laptop battery was at 4%. I'd been there since midnight working a double shift monitoring the online tutoring portal. $15 an hour. Every dollar mattered. Subject line: Stanford University Office of Financial Aid, final award notification. My hands shook when I clicked it open. Congratulations, Jordan Chen. You have been selected as a recipient of the Cardinal Excellence Merit Scholarship in recognition of outstanding academic achievement. Award amount: $45,000 annually. I read it 3 times before I let myself believe it. $45,000. Renewable for all 4 years of my undergraduate degree. Not a loan, not work study, a scholarship. Someone had looked at my transcripts, my essays, my 3 jobs and 3.8 high school GPA, and decided I was worth investing in. I called my parents immediately. It rang 4 times before Dad picked up. Jordan? It's not even 7. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I was smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. I got it. The big scholarship. The one I applied for in February. Dad, it's $45,000 a year. Silence. Then, that's great, honey. Really great. Hey, your mother wants to talk to you. The phone muffled. I heard voices in the background, my parents talking to each other, not to me. When Mom came on, her voice had that distracted quality I'd learned to recognize over 18 years. Jordan, sweetheart, that's wonderful news. We're so proud. Listen, can I call you back? Your sister just got home and she has something exciting to share too. Oh. Yeah, sure. Love you, honey. We'll talk later. The line went dead. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the email on my laptop screen. $45,000. 4 years at Stanford. The biggest achievement of my life so far. I called back 3 hours later. No answer. I texted. No response until 9 p.m. that night. So excited for you. Ashley got approved for her gap year program in Europe. We're helping her plan. Can we talk this weekend? We didn't talk that weekend. But I did see the Facebook post Mom made that Tuesday evening. A photo of Ashley, my 19-year-old sister, fresh out of high school, holding a glossy brochure for some boutique cultural immersion experience in Paris and Barcelona and Rome. The caption: Our baby girl is spreading her wings, so blessed to support her journey of self-discovery. A mother's greatest joy is watching her children chase their dreams. Number: Proud Mom. Number: Gap Year. Number: Europe. 147 likes, 32 comments. My scholarship email sat in my inbox with 0 celebration. I should have seen it then. The pattern was already so clear. But I was 18 and stupid and hopeful, and I wanted so desperately to believe that this time, this huge, life-changing achievement would be different. It wasn't. The scholarship covered tuition and fees. That was it. I still needed money for housing, food, books, transportation, every single other expense Stanford didn't include in their financial aid calculations. I still needed to eat. I still needed a place to sleep. My parents helped with that, didn't they? No? We're stretched thin with Ashley's gap year program, Dad explained over the phone 3 weeks before I moved into my freshman dorm. It's $28,000 for the 8-month program, plus flights, plus spending money. We just don't have extra right now. But you'll figure it out. You're resourceful. Resourceful. I worked 3 jobs that first year. Morning shifts at the campus coffee shop, afternoon tutoring sessions at $20 an hour, weekend nights monitoring the undergraduate library circulation desk. I took out $17,000 in federal student loans to cover the difference. I ate ramen 4 nights a week. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving because I couldn't afford the flight. Ashley posted Instagram stories from Barcelona, from Paris, from a villa in Tuscany. Mom commented on every single one. Living your best life, baby. I graduated with a 3.9 gigapascals, Phi Beta Kappa, Dean's List every single semester, published undergraduate research in a peer-reviewed journal. Job offers from Google and Microsoft before I even walked across that stage. And $87,000 in student loan debt. But I told myself it would be worth it when they saw me in that cap and gown, when they watched me walk across the Stanford Stadium field with 16,000 other people cheering. When they finally saw that I'd made it. I sent them the graduation ceremony invitation 8 weeks in advance. Mom responded within an hour. Wouldn't miss it for the world, sweetheart. Dad and I are so proud of you. I let myself believe her. I need you to understand something about my family before I tell you what happened next. I wasn't unloved. I wasn't abused in any obvious, reportable way. I was fed. I was clothed. I had a roof over my head and parents who showed up to some of my school events and told me they were proud when I brought home good grades. But I was never the priority. Ashley was 2 years younger than me. Ashley was the accident baby, the surprise blessing, the golden child who could do no wrong. Ashley was loud where I was quiet, charming where I was serious, effortlessly pretty where I was awkward and studious. And Ashley was always the one they chose. When I was 10, I won the regional spelling bee. Mom and Dad took me to Applebee's to celebrate. We split one appetizer, and I got a hamburger. The bill came to $31. When Ashley made the JV cheerleading squad at 15, they threw her a surprise party at our house. 40 people, catered sandwiches, a custom cake from the expensive bakery downtown. I saw the receipt later. $380. When I was 14, I saved up for 3 months to buy a dress for the 8th grade formal. I found one at a thrift store for $30. I was so proud of myself for being responsible, for not asking them for money. Ashley's junior prom dress cost $400. Mom took her to the mall on a Saturday, and they spent 6 hours shopping. She posted pictures of the experience on Facebook. The caption: "Nothing better than spoiling my baby girl. These moments are priceless." I went to prom in a $30 dress that smelled like someone else's mothballs. When I turned 16, they gave me a card with $50 inside and told me I could take the bus to school. When Ashley turned 16, they bought her a used Honda Civic, $8,500. She totaled it 3 months later. They bought her another one. I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you this so you understand that graduation wasn't the first time they chose her over me. It was just the most public. I worked my ass off at Stanford. Not just for the grades, though, those mattered, but for the survival of it. I had a work-study position at the library 20 hours a week. I tutored underclassmen in economics and statistics for $20 an hour. I picked up weekend shifts at the campus coffee shop at 5 a.m. because they paid an extra $1 for opening shifts. Junior year, I worked 37 hours a week on top of a full course load. I missed parties. I missed football games. I missed the casual, careless college experience everyone else seemed to be having because I was too busy making rent. My parents visited campus once in 4 years. Once, during Parents' Weekend my sophomore year. They stayed for 4 hours, took some photos in front of Hoover Tower, and left because they had to get back for Ashley's high school volleyball game. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving my junior year because I couldn't afford the $340 plane ticket. That same week, Mom sent Ashley $2,400 for a trip to Cabo with her friends. I know because I saw the Venmo receipt. Ashley's account was public. The caption on Mom's payment: "Have the best time, baby. You deserve it." I ate ramen alone in my dorm room and told myself it didn't matter. But it did matter. Of course it mattered. By senior year, I'd taken out $87,000 in federal student loans to cover everything my scholarship didn't. I'd worked a cumulative 4,200 hours across 3 jobs. I'd published research. I'd made Dean's List 8 semesters in a row. I'd earned a degree in computer science from one of the best universities in the world. And I'd done it almost entirely alone. So when graduation approached, that final, culminating moment when all of that work and sacrifice and loneliness would be validated, I needed them to show up. I needed them to see what I'd accomplished, despite their neglect. I sent them the invitation in early April, a physical invitation in the mail, not just an email. Cream-colored cardstock with the Stanford seal embossed at the top. Jordan Chen requests the honor of your presence at the Stanford University commencement ceremony, June 15th, 10 a.m., Stanford Stadium. I included a handwritten note. This means everything to me. Please be there. Mom called me the day it arrived. Of course we'll be there, sweetheart. We wouldn't miss it. Your father and I are so proud of you. I believed her. She confirmed again 2 weeks before graduation, again 1 week before, again 3 days before. I reserved their seats, section 14, row 3, seats 12 and 13. I checked the seating chart 5 times to make sure I'd gotten it right. I bought a new dress to wear under my gown. I got my hair cut. I practiced walking in heels because I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted them to see me as someone worth celebrating. I really, truly believed they would show up. The text came at 7:14 a.m. on June 15th. I was already awake. I'd been awake since 5:30, too anxious and excited and terrified to sleep. My cap and gown hung on the back of my closet door, cardinal red, the color of Stanford pride. My honors cords were laid out on my desk. Phi Beta Kappa in blue and gold, the Dean's Award in white and red. 4 years of work. 4 years of exhaustion and ramen and loneliness. 4 years of choosing, studying over socializing, library closing shifts over football games, survival over joy. It was all about to mean something. My phone buzzed on my nightstand. Mom, 7:14 a.m. Jordan, honey, I'm so sorry. We're not going to be able to make it today. Ashley needs to get a new wardrobe before her gap year program restarts in the fall. And this is the only weekend she's available. We're already at Nordstrom. I just sent you $40 on Venmo for brunch after the ceremony. Treat yourself. We love you so much and we're so proud. Congratulations, graduate. I read it twice. Then I checked Venmo. $40 from Michelle Chen. Caption: brunch money. Congrats, grad. My hands started shaking. I scrolled down. $600 to Ashley Chen, 7:09 a.m. Caption: Nordstrom spree. Get everything you need, baby. I sat on the edge of my bed in my pajamas, phone in hand, and tried to process what I was reading. They weren't coming. 4 years. $87,000 in loans. 4,200 hours of work. Dean's List every semester. Published research. Job offers from Google and Microsoft. And they chose a shopping trip. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone had wrapped steel cables around my ribs and pulled them tight. My vision blurred. I thought I might throw up. My roommate Emma knocked on my door. Jordan? You okay? We need to leave in 20 minutes. I couldn't answer. She opened the door anyway, took one look at my face. I held up my phone. She read the text. Her expression went from concerned to furious in about 3 seconds. Are you fucking kidding me? I shook my head. I still couldn't speak. Jordan. She sat down next to me on the bed. Put her arm around my shoulders. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They're not coming. My voice sounded hollow, distant, like it belonged to someone else. They're at Nordstrom, with Ashley. I know. They sent me $40. I know. I worked 3 jobs for 4 years, and they sent me $40 for brunch. Emma pulled me into a hug. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The hurt was too big for tears. We got dressed in silence. I put on my cap and gown like I was suiting up for battle. Emma helped me adjust my honor cords. Her hands were steadier than mine. My family's got you today, she said. My parents, my sister, my grandma, they're all here for you too, okay? You won't be alone. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. Stanford Stadium was already packed when we arrived at 9:30. The class of 2025, 16,000 graduates, red caps and gowns flooding the field like a cardinal river. The stands were filled with families. Everywhere I looked, parents were taking photos, hugging their children, crying proud tears. I walked to section 14, row 3. Seats 12 and 13 were empty. I placed their programs on the red cushions. 2 identical booklets with the Stanford seal on the front. I'd picked them up from the distribution table specifically for them. The seats stayed empty. Around me, families were settling in. A father fixing his daughter's tassel, a mother pinning a boutonniere to her son's gown, grandparents wiping their eyes, siblings taking selfies. In front of me, 2 empty red cushions under California June sunlight. I sat down next to Emma and her family, her parents, her younger sister, her grandmother. They made space for me like I belonged there, like I was worth showing up for. They're not coming, I said quietly. Emma's mom squeezed my hand. We're here, sweetheart. We're here. The ceremony started at 10 a.m. 16,000 names called over 3 hours. When they announced my name, Jordan Chen, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Phi Beta Kappa, Dean's Award recipient, I walked across that stage alone. Emma's family screamed for me. Her dad put 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled so loud people 3 sections over turned to look. Her grandmother held up a sign she'd apparently made that morning. Go, Jordan! My parents were at Nordstrom. I smiled for the photographer. I shook the dean's hand. I accepted my diploma cover, the actual degree would come in the mail, and walked off the stage. 2 empty seats. $87,000 in loans. 4 years of sacrifice. And they chose a shopping trip. After the ceremony ended, I stood near my assigned section while families swarmed the field. Hugs and flowers and proud tears everywhere. Emma's parents took photos with me. Her grandmother gave me a bouquet of yellow roses. Your grandmother would be so proud, she said, and I realized she was talking about someone she'd never met. I checked my phone. No text from my parents, no call, no follow-up message. But there was a new Venmo transaction. $320 to Ashley Chen, 11:47 a.m. Caption: For the shoes, you're gonna look amazing, baby. I stood there in my cardinal red gown, holding yellow roses from a stranger's grandmother, and looked at those 2 empty seats in section 14. That's when I knew something was wrong. Not just wrong in the way I'd always known the favoritism. The neglect. The casual cruelty of being the spare child. Wrong in a deeper, darker way. Because $40 for my Stanford graduation and $920 for Ashley's shopping trip in the same morning wasn't just favoritism. It was a choice. A specific, deliberate choice. And if they could choose that, what else had they chosen that I didn't know about yet? I opened my phone and pulled up my bank account, the joint account my parents had set up for me freshman year for emergencies. I hadn't checked it in months. There was never anything in it anyway. I logged in. The balance was $847. That wasn't right. There should have been more. There should have been. I clicked on the transaction history, and that's when I saw it. I stared at my phone screen. Balance: $847.23. That number meant nothing to me at first. I hadn't checked this account in over a year, maybe longer. My parents set it up freshman year and told me it was for emergencies, but there had never been any money in it. Just a joint checking account gathering digital dust while I worked 3 jobs to survive. But $847 felt wrong somehow. Why was there money in it at all? Emma's family had gone to get lunch. They'd invited me along. Emma practically begged me to come, but I told them I needed a minute alone. I needed to process, to breathe, to figure out why my chest still felt like someone was standing on it. I sat down on the grass outside Stanford Stadium, my cardinal gown spread around me like a collapsed parachute. Families were still streaming past, laughing and taking photos. Someone's grandmother was crying happy tears 20 feet away. I clicked on Transaction History. The screen loaded slowly. My hand was shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The first transaction made my stomach drop. May 27. Transfer to Ashley Chen. $890. Europe Fund top-up. Love you. Europe Fund. My Europe Fund? No. That didn't make sense. I'd never been to Europe. I'd never had a Europe Fund. This was my emergency account. My backup account. The account that had always been empty because my parents never put money in it. I scrolled down. May 15. Transfer to Ashley Chen. $1,200. Apartment deposit. So proud of you, baby. April 30. Transfer to Ashley Chen. $2,400. Cabo trip. Have the best time. My vision started tunneling. April 12. Transfer to Ashley Chen. $650. Car repairs. Love you. March 28. Transfer to Ashley Chen. $1,100. Spring break shopping. I couldn't breathe. I kept scrolling. Transaction after transaction. Hundreds of dollars at a time. Sometimes over 1,000. All to Ashley. All with Mom's enthusiastic captions, full of emojis and exclamation points. All from an account that had my name on it. I scrolled faster, my thumbs sliding frantically across the screen. January, December, November. The transactions went back months. Further, October, September, August of last year. How far back did this go? My brain was trying to do math and failing. Each transaction was a knife. $890. $1,200. $2,400. $650. $1,100. The numbers blurred together, but the pattern was crystal clear. They'd been taking money out of my account, an account I didn't even know had money in it, and giving it to Ashley. For 18 months. I finally reached the transaction that explained everything. December 18, 2 years ago. Deposit. $35,000. Grandma Chen Education Fund. For Jordan's future. I stopped breathing entirely. $35,000. Grandma Chen. My grandmother had died my sophomore year. I remembered the funeral small, quiet, just family. I remembered Mom crying. I remembered Dad giving the eulogy. I remembered sitting in the third row of the chapel, feeling numb because I'd loved Grandma, but I'd been so overwhelmed with midterms and work shifts that I couldn't process grief properly. No one had mentioned money. No one had mentioned an education fund. No one had told me that Grandma left me $35,000 for college. I did the math in my head. Fast. Frantic. The current balance was $847. The original deposit was $35,000. That meant $34,153 was gone. I scrolled back through the transactions with new eyes, with shaking hands, with rage building in my chest like a wildfire. Every transfer to Ashley, every shopping trip, every apartment deposit, every car repair, every spring break vacation, every Europe Fund contribution, all of it had come from my inheritance. From Grandma's gift to me. From money that was supposed to help me graduate without drowning in debt. I'd worked 4,200 hours across 4 years. I'd taken out $87,000 in student loans. I'd eaten ramen and skipped Thanksgiving flights and studied in the library until 3 a.m. because I couldn't afford to fail a single class. And the entire time, there had been $35,000 sitting in an account with my name on it. Money my grandmother had left specifically for my education. Money my parents had stolen. Because that's what this was. Not favoritism. Not neglect. Theft. I sat there on the grass in my graduation gown, phone in my hand, and felt something shift inside my chest. The hurt was still there, raw and bleeding and massive, but underneath it, something harder was forming. Evidence. I took screenshots. Every single transaction. 57 screenshots total. Dating back 18 months. Then I stood up, brushed grass off my gown, and walked toward the parking lot where Emma said her family would meet me. My legs felt strange, disconnected, like I was piloting my body remotely. Emma was leaning against her dad's SUV when I arrived. She took one look at my face and straightened immediately. What happened? I held up my phone. I need to show you something. We sat in Emma's dorm room with my laptop open between us on her bed. Emma's family had dropped us off an hour ago. They'd wanted to take me to a celebratory dinner. You deserve to celebrate, sweetheart, even if your parents are assholes, but I'd asked for a rain check. I needed to understand what I'd found. I needed to see the full scope of the damage. Emma had taken one look at the Venmo screenshots and said, "We're getting your bank statements, all of them." Now we were logged into the Capital One joint account website, and I was downloading 18 months of transaction history. The PDF loaded slowly, 47 pages. Jesus, Emma whispered. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Page 1 showed the original deposit. December 18th. 2 years ago. $35,000 from Estate of Patricia Chen. Education Trust Distribution. Education Trust. The words made it so much worse somehow. This wasn't just money Grandma had left me. This was a trust. A formal, legal designation that the money was for my education specifically. And my parents had raided it to fund Ashley's lifestyle. I scrolled to page 2. January transactions. 3 transfers to Ashley totaling $3,200. February. 4 transfers. $4,100. March. 5 transfers. $5,300. They took more as time went on, Emma said quietly. Look at the pattern. In the beginning, it was a few hundred here and there. By this spring, they were pulling over $1,000 at a time. She was right. The theft had escalated. Like they'd started small to see if I'd notice. And when I didn't, because I didn't even know the account existed, they'd gotten bolder. I kept scrolling. My hands were steadier now. The shock had burned off and left behind something colder. Something clinical. I needed to document everything. Page 12 showed something that made my stomach turn over. April 12th, the same week I'd texted Mom asking if she could help with a $340 plane ticket home for Easter break. Her response had been, "Honey, money's really tight right now. We just can't swing it. Maybe next time?" The bank statement for that same week showed an $800 transfer to Ashley with the caption, "Shopping therapy, you deserve it, baby." They'd told me money was tight, while transferring $800 of my inheritance to my sister for shopping therapy. I highlighted the transaction in yellow. Then I went back through my text messages with Mom and took screenshots of every single time she'd told me they couldn't afford to help me. September 15th, sophomore year. Can't afford textbooks. Can you help? Mom's response. We're really strapped this month, sweetie. Can you see if the library has copies? Bank statement. September 15th. $950 transfer to Ashley. November 20th, junior year. Thanksgiving flight is $340. I really want to come home. Mom's response. Honey, money's really tight right now. We just can't swing it. Maybe next time? Bank statement. November 18th. $2,400 transfer to Ashley. Cabo trip. Have the best time. February 3rd. Senior year. Emergency dentist appointment. Need $180 for cavity filling. Can you help? Mom's response. Oh, sweetie, we're so broke right now. Can it wait until summer? Bank statement, February 3rd. $1,200 transfer to Ashley. New laptop for community college. You've got this. I made a spreadsheet. Column A, date I asked for help. Column B, amount I needed. Column C, mom's excuse. Column D, date of Ashley's transfer. Column E, amount given to Ashley. Column F, Ashley's caption, reason. I filled in 23 rows. 23 times I'd asked for help and been told they couldn't afford it. 23 times they'd transferred money from my inheritance to Ashley within the same week. The total amount I'd asked for across those 23 requests, $4,820. The total amount they'd given Ashley during those same time periods, $31,847. Emma watched me work in silence. When I finally sat back from the laptop, she said, "Jordan, this isn't favoritism. I know. This is theft, legal, criminal theft. I know. That money was designated for your education, in a trust, and they embezzled it." I turned to look at her. I worked 3 jobs for 4 years. I have $87,000 in student loan debt, and there was $35,000 sitting in an account the entire time. Money my grandmother left me specifically so I wouldn't have to do that. They stole from you. They stole from me. Emma's jaw was tight. What are you going to do? I looked back at the spreadsheet on my laptop screen. 23 rows of evidence. 47 pages of bank statements. 57 screenshots of Venmo transfers. I don't know yet, I said. But I'm going to figure it out. I printed the bank statements that night. All 47 pages. I used the library printer because I didn't trust my laptop not to crash and lose everything. Then I went back to my dorm room, sat on my bed, and started highlighting. Every transfer to Ashley. Yellow. Every time the transfer corresponded with a denial to me. Pink. Every caption that mentioned something Grandma would have hated. Blue. There were a lot of blue highlights. Grandma had been frugal, practical, deeply opposed to waste. She would have been furious to see her education, trust funding, Cabo vacations, and shopping sprees. By 2 a.m., my entire body hurt. My eyes burned. My hand cramped from gripping the highlighter. But I had something concrete now. Evidence. Proof that this wasn't in my head. Proof that I wasn't being dramatic or oversensitive or ungrateful. Proof that my parents had stolen from me for 18 months while I worked myself to exhaustion and drowned in debt. I took a photo of the highlighted pages spread across my bed, a sea of yellow and pink and blue, and sent it to Emma. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later. Emma. Holy shit. Emma. Jordan? You need to talk to a lawyer. Emma. My sister's boyfriend is a paralegal. I'm calling him in the morning. Emma. This is prosecutable. You know that, right? I stared at that last text for a long time. Prosecutable. Could I really do that? Could I really take my parents to court? Sue them? File criminal charges? They were my parents. But they'd also stolen $31,847 from me. They'd lied to my face. They'd watched me struggle and starve and work myself into exhaustion while they funded Ashley's luxury lifestyle with my inheritance money. They'd skipped my Stanford graduation for a shopping trip, and they'd done it all without a single shred of remorse. I typed back, "Call him." Emma's sister's boyfriend's name was Marcus, and he called me at 9 a.m. the next morning. "Emma sent me the documentation," he said without preamble. "The bank statements, the Venmo screenshots, the text message comparisons. Jordan, I'm not a lawyer yet, but I've worked in estate law for 3 years. What your parents did is textbook conversion of trust assets. It's illegal. You have a case." My mouth was dry. What kind of case? Civil lawsuit minimum, possibly criminal charges depending on how the trust was structured. Do you have a copy of your grandmother's will? No. I didn't even know the money existed until yesterday. Okay, that's fine. Wills are public record once they go through probate. I can pull it from the county clerk's office. What county did your grandmother live in? I told him. Santa Clara County. She'd lived in San Jose her whole life. Got it. Give me a few days to pull the documents. In the meantime, don't confront your parents. Don't tell them you know. Just document everything. Every text, every Venmo transaction, every interaction. Can you do that? Yes. Good. And Jordan? This is going to get ugly. Family lawsuits always do. But from what Emma sent me, you've got them dead to rights. The paper trail is damning. He hung up. I sat on my bed in my empty dorm room and tried to process what was happening. 2 days ago, I'd been getting ready for graduation. Excited, nervous, hopeful that maybe, finally, my parents would show up for me. Now I was talking to a paralegal about suing them for theft. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Mom. Hope you had a wonderful graduation, sweetheart. Sorry we couldn't be there. Send us pictures. Love you. I stared at the message. Sorry we couldn't be there. Like it was a scheduling conflict. Like they'd tried so hard but circumstances beyond their control had intervened. Not. Sorry. We chose Ashley's shopping trip over your college graduation. Not. Sorry we stole your inheritance money. Not. Sorry we've been lying to you for 18 months. Just. Sorry. We couldn't be there. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started building a timeline. I needed to see the full scope, the complete picture, every lie, every theft, every moment they'd chosen Ashley over me while spending my money. I created a new spreadsheet. This one was different from yesterday's comparison chart. This one was a timeline, month by month. 18 months of betrayal laid out in chronological order. December. 2 years ago. Grandma Chen dies. Funeral held December 10th. December 18th. $35,000 deposited into joint account. Trust designation. Education fund for Jordan Chen. December 22nd. First transfer to Ashley. $400. Caption. Christmas shopping. They'd waited 4 days after the deposit to start stealing. 4 days. January. 2 years ago. New semester starts. I text Mom asking if they can help with textbook costs. $240. Mom. Money's tight, honey. See if you can rent them. January 15th. $850 transfer to Ashley. New semester wardrobe. You've got this. January 28th. $1,100 transfer to Ashley. Apartment deposit. So proud. February. Valentine's Day. I work double shift at coffee shop. No texts from parents. February 14th. $600 transfer to Ashley. V-Day shopping. Treat yourself. February 20th. I ask if they can visit for Parents' Weekend. Dad. We'll try, but it's expensive to fly. February 25th. $1,350 transfer to Ashley. Spring break fund. Have fun. I kept going, month after month. The pattern was so clear it made me physically sick. Every time I needed something, money's tight. We can't afford it. Maybe next time. Every time Ashley wanted something, immediate transfer, enthusiastic captions, hearts and emojis and unconditional support. By March of my senior year, the transfers had gotten bigger and more frequent. $2,400 for Cabo. $1,200 for a laptop. $890 for a Europe fund top-up, even though her original gap year program had ended months ago. And the final insult. June 15th. Graduation day. $40 to me for brunch. $920 to Ashley for Nordstrom. I sat back and looked at the completed timeline. 18 months. 57 transfers. $31,847 stolen. But the timeline showed something else too. something I hadn't fully processed until I saw it laid out like this. The theft had escalated dramatically around the time I'd started talking about graduation. In January of senior year, when I'd sent them the save the date for commencement, the transfers to Ashley had increased in frequency and amount. Like they knew the money needed to be gone before I figured out it existed. Like they were deliberately draining the account before I could access it. That realization hit me like cold water. This wasn't just favoritism that had spiraled out of control. This wasn't just careless parents who hadn't thought through the consequences. This was calculated. They'd known exactly what they were doing. They'd seen Grandma's will. They'd seen the trust designation. They'd known the money was mine. And they'd taken it anyway. Systematically, deliberately. With full knowledge that I was working 3 jobs and drowning in debt while they funded Ashley's lifestyle with my inheritance. They'd lied to my face. They'd told me money was tight. They'd watched me skip meals and miss flights home and work myself into exhaustion. And then they'd skipped my graduation for a shopping trip. I saved the timeline, backed it up to 3 different locations, printed 2 copies. Then I called Emma. "I need that lawyer's name," I said when she picked up. "I'm done waiting." "Marcus is pulling your grandma's will tomorrow," he said. "I don't care. I need to talk to a lawyer now. Today. Do you know anyone?" Silence on the other end. Then, "My sister's boss is an estate attorney, Sarah Morrison. She's supposed to be really good. Can you get me her number?" "Jordan, are you sure you want to do this?" "Once you start, you can't. I'm sure." "Okay." Emma's voice was quiet. "Okay. I'll text you her info." The text came through, 30 seconds later. A name, a phone number, and an address in Palo Alto. I called, before I could lose my nerve. The receptionist answered on the second ring. "Morrison Law Group. How can I help you?" "I need to speak with Sarah Morrison about a family estate theft case." "May I ask what this is regarding?" "My parents embezzled my inheritance trust and I have 18 months of documentation." A pause. "Hold, please." 60 seconds later, a woman's voice came on the line. Older, calm, professional. "This is Sarah Morrison. I understand you're dealing with a trust misappropriation situation? My grandmother left me $35,000 for college in a designated education trust. My parents stole $31,847 of it over 18 months and gave it to my sister. I have bank statements, Venmo receipts, and a timeline proving all of it. I need to know what my options are." Another pause. Longer this time. "How soon can you come to my office?" "Today. I have an opening at 2 p.m. Bring everything you have. Every document, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. We're going to need it all. I'll be there." I hung up and looked at the stacks of printed documents on my desk. 47 pages of bank statements, 23 pages of text message screenshots, 4 pages of timeline analysis, 3 pages of comparison charts. Evidence. Proof. Justice. I'd spent 4 years surviving, working, sacrificing, believing that if I just worked hard enough, if I just achieved enough, my parents would finally see my worth. But they'd never planned to see it. They'd been too busy stealing from me. Now it was my turn to make them see something else. Consequences. Emma drove me to the lawyer's office. I'd asked to go alone, but she wouldn't hear it. "You're not doing this by yourself," she'd said, keys already in her hand. "I'm coming." End of discussion. So we drove down University Avenue in her old Toyota, my evidence folders stacked on my lap like a shield. 47 pages of bank statements, 23 pages of screenshots, 4 pages of timeline analysis. Proof. Emma kept glancing at me while we sat at red lights. "You okay?" "No." "Yeah, that's fair." We drove in silence for another few blocks. Then she said, "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "I've known you for 4 years, since freshman orientation, and in all that time, I don't think I've ever seen you ask for help. Not real help, not the kind that costs something." I stared out the window. "I asked my parents for help plenty of times. That's not what I mean. Emma's voice was gentle. You asked them? Yeah, but you never expected them to say yes. You always had a backup plan. Always. Like you knew they'd let you down, so you just prepared for it. My throat tightened. I remember sophomore year, Emma continued. You got that stomach flu. You were so sick you couldn't stand up, and I wanted to call your parents to come get you. You begged me not to. You said they were busy. But Jordan, you could barely walk. You were throwing up every hour, and you still didn't want to bother them. They were busy, I whispered. No, they weren't. They just made you believe you weren't worth their time. I couldn't respond. If I opened my mouth, I'd start crying, and I needed to hold it together for the lawyer meeting. Emma pulled into the parking lot of a modern glass building. Morrison Law Group was on the third floor. She turned off the car and looked at me. Really looked at me. Jordan, what they did to you wasn't normal. It wasn't okay. And it sure as hell wasn't your fault. I know. Do you? Because I've watched you for 4 years trying to earn their love, working yourself half to death, getting perfect grades, winning awards, and they still chose Ashley. Every single time. That's not because you weren't good enough. That's because they're broken. I blinked hard. You were good enough. You are good enough. You've always been good enough. And what they did stealing from you, lying to you, abandoning you at graduation, that's on them, not you. Do you hear me? I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. Good. Emma reached over and squeezed my hand. Now, let's go make them pay for it. We took the elevator to the third floor. The Morrison Law Group offices were sleek and professional glass walls, modern furniture, diplomas framed on every surface. A receptionist who looked about 60 smiled at us from behind a curved desk. You must be Jordan Chen. Sarah's expecting you. Go right in second door on the left. The door was already open. Sarah Morrison was maybe 55, with silver hair pulled into a neat bun and reading glasses perched on her nose. She stood when we entered and extended her hand. Jordan, thank you for coming in on such short notice. Her handshake was firm, confident. And you are? Emma Park, Jordan's roommate and friend. Good. Everyone needs a friend during this kind of thing. Sit, please. We sat in chairs across from her desk. I placed my folders on the edge bank statements, screenshots, timeline, and folded my hands in my lap to keep them from shaking. Sarah leaned back in her chair and studied me for a moment. You sounded very composed on the phone. How are you actually doing? The question surprised me. I don't know. That's honest. Good. I need you to be honest with me, Jordan, because this kind of case requires absolute transparency. Can you do that? Yes. Excellent. She gestured to the folders. Show me what you have. I did. I laid out the bank statements first. 47 pages, highlighted in yellow and pink and blue. Sarah put on her reading glasses and started going through them page by page, her expression neutral. Then the Venmo screenshots. 57 transactions. Then the text message exchanges. 23 instances of asking for help and being denied while Ashley received money the same week. Then the timeline. 18 months of systematic theft laid out chronologically. Sarah didn't speak while she reviewed everything. She just read. Occasionally, she'd make a note on a legal pad. Occasionally, she'd go back to a previous page and cross-reference something. Emma sat next to me, silent and steady. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably 20 minutes, Sarah set down her pen and looked at me over her reading glasses. Jordan, do you understand what you have here? Evidence that my parents stole from me. More than that, you have evidence of systematic conversion of trust assets, breach of fiduciary duty, and potentially elder estate fraud. This isn't a messy family dispute. This is a prosecutable crime. My stomach flipped. Crime? Yes. Your grandmother designated that money specifically for your education in a trust. That creates a legal obligation. Your parents were likely named as trustees or custodians, we'll confirm that when we pull the will. But regardless of their exact role, they had a fiduciary duty to use those funds according to your grandmother's wishes. They didn't. They diverted the money to your sister for personal expenses that had nothing to do with your education. That's conversion. That's theft. Can I sue them? My voice came out smaller than I intended. You can. And based on this documentation, you should. Sarah tapped the timeline. The paper trail is extraordinary. Most cases like this come down to he said, she said. But you have bank records, digital receipts, time-stamped transactions, and a pattern of behavior spanning 18 months. Any judge who sees this will rule in your favor. What would that look like? A lawsuit? Civil suit to recover the stolen funds, plus damages for emotional distress and breach of trust. We'd file in Santa Clara County Superior Court. Discovery phase would take a few months: depositions, document requests, interrogatories. Most likely it settles before trial. Your parents would be foolish to let this go in front of a judge. And if they don't settle, then we go to trial. And we win. Sarah's voice was certain. Matter of fact, Jordan, I've been practicing estate law for 27 years. I've seen a lot of ugly family cases. This one is about as clear-cut as they come. You will win. I felt something loosen in my chest. Validation. Proof that I wasn't crazy. That this wasn't normal. How much would it cost? I asked quietly. Sarah considered. I work on contingency for cases like this. That means I take a percentage of the recovery, typically 30% instead of charging you up front. You'd only pay if we win. And we will win. 30% of what I recover. Yes. So if we recover the full $31,847 plus damages, my fee would come out of that total. You'd still walk away with significantly more than you have now. I did the math in my head. Even with 30% going to legal fees, I'd recover over $20,000, money that could pay down my loans, money that was rightfully mine. There's another option too, Sarah said carefully. Criminal charges. Emma inhaled sharply beside me. Criminal? I repeated. Elder estate fraud. Theft of trust assets. Depending on how the trust was structured and what your parents' official role was, this could constitute criminal behavior. That would mean involving the district attorney's office, potentially jail time for your parents. My hands were shaking again. Jail. It's an option. Not one I'd recommend pursuing immediately, but it's on the table. The civil suit is the cleaner path. You get your money back, you get damages, and you don't have to navigate the criminal justice system. But I want you to know all your options. I looked at Emma. She looked back at me, her expression carefully neutral, not pushing, just present. I turned back to Sarah. I want to file the civil suit. Are you sure? This will fracture your family, probably permanently. Your parents will know you're suing them. Your sister will know. Extended family will take sides. It will get ugly. It's already ugly, I said. They stole from me. They lied to me. They abandoned me at my Stanford graduation to take my sister shopping with my money. It can't get uglier than that. Sarah studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. All right, let's get started. Sarah pulled out a fresh legal pad and clicked her pen. First things first, I need to pull your grandmother's will from probate records to confirm the trust structure and your parents' exact role. That'll take a few days. In the meantime, I need you to gather any additional documentation you can find. Do you have access to that joint account anymore? Yes, online. Good. Download every statement from the account's inception to present day. I need the complete history, not just the past 18 months. Can you do that? Yes. Do you have any written communication from your parents about the inheritance? Emails, texts, letters, anything? I thought for a moment. No. They never mentioned it. I didn't know it existed until 2 days ago. That works in our favor, actually. Their silence implies deliberate concealment. Sarah made a note. What about your grandmother's funeral? Did anyone mention the trust there? Any family members who might have known about it? I don't know. I was I wasn't really processing things well. It was during midterms and I was working two jobs and I stopped. Wait, my uncle, my dad's brother, Thomas. He was the executor of Grandma's estate. He would have known. Perfect. Would he be willing to testify? I I think so. He and my dad aren't that close. They had some kind of falling out a few years ago. Even better. Family witnesses with existing tension are more credible, there's no love lost, so their testimony seems less biased. Do you have his contact information? I nodded. Good. Don't reach out yet. I'll contact him through official channels once we file. But put him on the witness list. Sarah flipped to a new page. Now, let's talk timeline. How quickly do you want to move on this? As quickly as possible. Understood. Here's what happens next. I'll pull the probate records this week, assuming everything confirms what we expect, that the money was held in trust for your education. We'll draft a complaint. That's the official legal document that initiates the lawsuit. We file it with the court, and then your parents get served. That's when they'll know you're suing them. My stomach clenched. Once they're served, they have 30 days to respond. They'll almost certainly hire an attorney. Then we enter the discovery phase. That's where both sides request documents, take depositions, and build their cases. Discovery usually takes 3 to 6 months in a case like this. 6 months? Could be longer, could be shorter. Depends on how cooperative they are. But that's actually to our advantage. The longer this drags out, the more legal fees they rack up. Most people settle when they realize how expensive fighting is. Emma leaned forward. What kind of settlement would Jordan be looking at? Full restitution at minimum. $31,847. Plus interest about 3% annually over 18 months. So another $1,200 or so. Plus emotional distress damages. Given the egregious nature of the breach, stealing from their own child, lying systematically, abandoning her at graduation, I'd ask for at least $15,000 in damages. Probably more. I did the math. Over $48,000 total. Would they agree to that? I asked. They will when they see this documentation and realize the alternative is going to trial and losing even more. Judges don't look kindly on parents who steal from their children. And juries? Sarah shook her head. Juries hate this kind of thing. If we go to trial, I'd ask for double damages, maybe triple. How much would that be? Over $90,000. I felt dizzy. But it won't come to that, Sarah continued. I'd estimate 90% chance they settle within 4 months. They'll try to lowball you first offer to pay back the principal without interest or damages. We'll reject that. They'll come back with something closer to full restitution. We'll negotiate. Eventually, we'll land somewhere in the range of principal plus interest plus reasonable damages. And if they don't settle? Then we go to trial and we win. I've tried cases like this before, Jordan. With documentation this strong, it's not a question of whether you'll win. It's a question of how much you'll win. Emma squeezed my hand. Sarah set down her pen and looked at me directly. I need to ask you something difficult. Are you prepared for what this will do to your relationship with your parents? We don't have a relationship. Right now you're angry, hurt, betrayed. But once you sue them, that bridge is burned. Forever. You won't reconcile after this. You understand that, right? I thought about the empty seats at Stanford Stadium, the text message at 7:14 a.m., the $40 for brunch, while Ashley got $920 for shopping. I thought about 4 years of working 3 jobs, of eating ramen, of missing Thanksgiving because I couldn't afford a flight while they funded Cabo trips with my inheritance. I thought about 23 times asking for help and being told money was tight. I understand, I said. And I want to do it anyway. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay then. Let's burn it down. I left Sarah Morrison's office with a to-do list and a strange sense of calm. The panic from graduation day had hardened into something colder, something purposeful. Determination. Emma and I sat in her car in the parking lot for 10 minutes before either of us spoke. "You okay?" she finally asked. "I think so." That was intense. "Yeah. But good, right? She thinks you have a case. She thinks I have a slam dunk case." I stared at the folders in my lap. "Emma," she said, "juries hate this kind of thing. She said judges rule against parents who steal from their kids." "Are you scared?" I considered the question. "No. I'm angry. I'm so fucking angry." "Good. You should be." We drove back to campus in silence. My phone buzzed halfway there. A text from Mom. "Mom, thinking about you, sweetheart. How does it feel to be a Stanford graduate? So proud." I stared at the message. 3 days. It had taken her 3 days to follow up after missing my graduation. I didn't respond. Back in my dorm room, I opened my laptop and started following Sarah's instructions. First, download complete account history. I logged into the Capital One joint account and clicked through to statements. The account had been opened 4 years ago when I started at Stanford. For emergencies, Dad had said. There had never been any emergencies, just silence. Until Grandma died. I downloaded every statement from the account's inception. 47 months of history. Most of it was zeros. Empty accounts gathering virtual dust. Then December of my sophomore year, $35,000 deposited. Estate of Patricia Chen. And then the bleeding started. I saved all the PDFs to a folder labeled Evidence, Complete Account History. Backed it up to 3 different cloud services. Second, screenshot all communication. I went through my entire text history with both parents. 4 years of messages, birthday wishes, holiday greetings, me asking for help, them saying no. I found patterns I hadn't noticed before. Every time I mentioned struggling financially, emotionally, academically, they responded the same way. Quick deflection, subject change, or just silence. Jordan, October, sophomore year. Really stressed about money. Not sure how I'll make rent this month. Dad, you'll figure it out. You always do. No offer to help, no follow-up questions, just... Meanwhile, bank statements from that same week showed a $1,200 transfer to Ashley for apartment furniture. I screenshotted everything, organized it chronologically. Created a second folder. Communication evidence. Third, identify witnesses. Uncle Thomas was the obvious choice, but who else? I made a list. Uncle Thomas, estate, executor. Emma witnessed my struggles. Emma's parents saw the empty seats at graduation. My old roommate from sophomore year saw me working 3 jobs. The library supervisor where I worked could confirm hours. My academic advisor knew I'd declined research opportunities because I had to work. People who'd seen what my life actually looked like. People who could testify that I'd struggled while my parents claimed they were helping. I sent Sarah an email with the witness list. Fourth, document current financial status. This was harder. I had to look at numbers I'd been avoiding. I opened my student loan account. The balance made my stomach turn. $87,340. $87,340 in debt. I'd graduated 2 days ago. The first payment was due in 6 months. Minimum monthly payment, $890. I pulled up my job offer from Google. Start date in 3 weeks. Salary, $140,000. After taxes and living expenses in Mountain View, I'd have maybe $3,000 a month to put toward loans. It would take years to pay off. Years of debt I shouldn't have had, because there had been $35,000 sitting in an account that was supposed to prevent exactly this. I documented everything: loan statements, payment schedules, job offer letter, cost of living calculations. Evidence of damages. Fifth, pull Venmo history. Ashley's Venmo account was still public. I scrolled back 18 months. Every transaction from Mom was there. every shopping trip, every vacation, every just because payment. But I also found transactions I hadn't noticed before. Payments between Ashley and her friends. Captions that made my blood boil. Ashley to Megan. Cabo Rumi. Best trip ever. Payment. $600. The same Cabo trip Mom had funded with $2,400 from my inheritance while telling me she couldn't afford my $340 Thanksgiving flight. I screenshotted Ashley's entire Venmo history. 63 additional transactions that showed exactly how she'd spent my money. By midnight, I had everything organized. Complete bank history 47 months. All communication screenshots, 230 messages. Venmo evidence, 120 transactions. Loan documentation, 12 pages. Timeline analysis updated to 8 pages. Witness list, 7 names with contact info. I uploaded everything to a shared folder and sent Sarah the link. My phone buzzed at 12:47 a.m. Sarah's email response. Jordan, received the documentation. This is excellent work. Probate records will be ready by Friday. We'll have everything we need to file by early next week. In the meantime, continue documenting but do not contact your parents. No texts, no calls, no confrontations. Let them think everything is normal. The element of surprise works in our favor. Sarah. Don't contact them. That wouldn't be hard. I hadn't responded to Mom's text from earlier, hadn't answered any of the 3 calls from Dad today. I didn't want to hear their voices. Didn't want to hear their excuses. I wanted to hear a judge tell them what they'd done was illegal. Emma knocked on my door at 1 a.m. You still awake? Yeah. She came in and sat on my bed, looked at my laptop screen folders full of evidence, spreadsheets full of theft. You're really doing this, she said. I'm really doing this. Good. She handed me a folded piece of paper. My parents wanted me to give you this. I unfolded it. A check. $500. The memo line said, for Jordan, because someone should have been there. My eyes burned. Emma, I can't. You can. They want to help. They said you worked too hard to spend your first week after graduation drowning in this alone. So, take it. Buy groceries. Take a day off. Do something that isn't about your shitty parents for 5 minutes. I held the check and tried not to cry. Thank you, I whispered. You don't have to thank me. You don't have to thank anyone for doing the bare minimum of being decent. That's what makes what your parents did so fucked up. Emma squeezed my shoulder. You deserved better. You still deserve better. And I'm really glad you're making them pay for what they did. She left. I sat alone in my dorm room surrounded by evidence of 18 months of systematic betrayal. Outside my window, campus was dark and quiet. Most students had gone home after graduation. The dorms were nearly empty. But I wasn't alone. I had Emma. I had her family. I had Sarah Morrison. I had Uncle Thomas, who I'd call tomorrow. I had a paper trail that would destroy my parents in court. And I had something else, something new. Power. For 4 years, I'd worked myself to exhaustion trying to earn their love, trying to be good enough, trying to achieve enough that they'd finally see me. But I didn't need them to see me anymore. I needed them to see a subpoena. I saved all my documents, backed everything up one more time, set an alarm for 8 a.m. Tomorrow I'd call Uncle Thomas. Tomorrow I'd finalize the witness list. Tomorrow I'd keep building the case that would force my parents to face what they'd done. Tonight, I'd sleep. For the first time in 4 years, I'd sleep knowing I wasn't fighting alone anymore. My phone didn't stop buzzing for 3 hours. 47 missed calls by 5 p.m., 63 text messages, 12 voicemails I didn't listen to. Mom called 16 times, Dad called 14, Ashley called 8, Uncle James called twice. Even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out. But the messages that mattered came from different people. Aunt Susan, 2:15 p.m. I had no idea they were doing this to you. Your uncle and I want to help however we can. You have our full support. Uncle Thomas, 3:42 PM. David and Michelle left 20 minutes after you did. They're furious. Ashley stayed behind, crying. She kept saying she didn't know. I believe her. Everyone else is on your side. I've got 7 family members ready to give witness statements. Sarah will have them by morning. Aunt Karen, 4:30 p. What your parents did is unforgivable. I'm calling my lawyer friend to make sure you have everything you need. You're not alone in this. Emma ordered pizza. We ate it on her dorm room floor while my phone continued to explode with notifications. I finally listened to one voicemail. Mom's voice. Shaking with either tears or rage, I couldn't tell which. Jordan, how could you do this to us? We're your parents. We gave you everything. We raised you. And this is how you repay us? By humiliating us in front of the entire family? By threatening to sue us? You're being ungrateful and dramatic. Call me back right now so we can fix this. I deleted it. The next voicemail was, Dad. This is unacceptable, Jordan. You've embarrassed this family. You've made your mother cry. Whatever you think we did, we can discuss it privately like adults. This lawsuit threat is childish. You will drop this immediately, or there will be consequences. I deleted that one too. By midnight, I'd blocked both their numbers. Ashley's too, even though her messages were apologetic. I couldn't deal with any of them right now. What I could deal with was the email that came through at 11:47 p.m. From Sarah Morrison. Jordan? Uncle Thomas delivered witness statements from 7 family members tonight. All of them corroborate your account. All of them are willing to testify. Your parents' attorney contacted me at 6 p.m. They hired someone fast. They want to negotiate. I told them we'd discuss terms after service of process tomorrow. You did everything right today. Get some rest. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Sarah. They'd hired a lawyer within hours. Good. Let them spend money fighting a case they couldn't win. I fell asleep at 2 a.m. with Emma on the floor next to my bed, my phone finally silent, and the knowledge that 14 people had witnessed the truth. I wasn't invisible anymore. The lawsuit was filed officially on August 14th. Chen v. Chen, Superior Court of California, Santa Clara County. Case number 24CV089472. My name versus their names, in black and white on legal paper. The process server delivered the papers to their house at 9:30 a.m. Mom called Sarah's office 17 times that day. Dad sent 3 emails demanding we discuss this like rational adults. Sarah ignored all of it until the 30-day response deadline approached. Let them panic, she said during our first post-filing meeting. Panic makes people sloppy. She was right. Within the first week, Dad sent me an email directly violating Sarah's explicit instructions that all communication go through attorneys. In the email, he offered $10,000 to settle this misunderstanding and move forward as a family. $10,000, less than a third of what they'd stolen. Sarah forwarded it to opposing counsel with a note. Your clients don't seem to understand the severity of their situation. Full restitution plus damages, or we proceed to discovery. The discovery phase began in September. Document requests, interrogatories, depositions scheduled. Mom's deposition was first, October 15th. Sarah brought me to observe. I sat in a conference room while my mother, under oath, with a court reporter transcribing every word, tried to justify 18 months of theft. We were managing the account, Mom said, her voice tight. Jordan was busy with school. We didn't want to burden her with financial decisions. Managing the account, Sarah repeated flatly. By transferring $31,847 to your other daughter for personal expenses? Ashley needed support. She was struggling. Jordan was struggling. Jordan was working 3 jobs. Jordan had $87,000 in student loan debt. Where was her support? Mom's face flushed. We thought Jordan was fine. She never asked for help. Sarah slid the text message printouts across the table. 23 instances highlighted in pink. These are 23 times Jordan asked for help. You denied her every single time while simultaneously transferring money from her trust to Ashley. Can you explain that? I. We. Money was tight. You transferred $2,400 to Ashley for a Cabo vacation, the same week you told Jordan you couldn't afford her $340 Thanksgiving flight. How was money tight? Mom couldn't answer. The deposition lasted 4 hours. By the end, Mom was crying. Her lawyer, a tired-looking man named Gerald Hoffman, who probably charged $400 an hour, looked defeated. Dad's deposition was worse. He tried to claim he wasn't involved in day-to-day account management. Sarah pulled up bank records showing his digital signature on 41 transfers. He tried to claim they'd planned to pay it back eventually. Sarah asked for documentation of that plan. He had none. He tried to claim I was overreacting because we missed one graduation. Sarah pulled out the evidence timeline showing 18 months of systematic theft, predating graduation by over a year. He finally said, "Fine, we made mistakes. But she's our daughter. She shouldn't be doing this to us." Sarah leaned forward. "You stole from your daughter. She's holding you accountable. Those aren't the same thing." The deposition ended with Dad red-faced and furious. Ashley wasn't deposed, she wasn't a party to the lawsuit. But she sent me a letter in November. 5 pages. Handwritten. The core of it was simple. I didn't know. I thought Mom and Dad were just helping me because they loved me. I didn't know it was your money. I didn't know you were struggling. If I had known, I would have stopped them. I'm so sorry, Jordan. I'm so sorry. I believed her. I did. But I couldn't respond. Every conversation with Ashley would pull me back into a family system that had destroyed me. I needed distance. I needed to heal. So I filed the letter away and didn't reply. By December, Sarah received a settlement offer. $25,000. Still less than full restitution. We rejected it. The counteroffer came in January. $31,847 plus $8,000 in damages. Roughly $40,000 total. They're getting desperate, Sarah said. Their legal fees are probably $30,000 at this point. They're bleeding money to avoid paying you what they owe. What should I do? We can accept this. Or we can push for the full amount we originally demanded: principal, interest, and $15,000 in damages. That's about $48,000. But if we push, we risk going to trial. What are our chances at trial? Sarah smiled. 95% win rate with this evidence. But trials are stressful, expensive, time-consuming. You'd have to testify. They'd have to testify. It would be brutal for everyone. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I decided, I want them to pay the full amount. I want a judge to tell them what they did was wrong. I want it on record. Then we go to trial. The trial date was set for March 8th. But we never made it to trial. 2 weeks before the court date, Gerald Hoffman contacted Sarah with a final offer: $47,500. Essentially the full amount we'd demanded minus $500. They're capitulating, Sarah explained. They don't want to testify in open court. They don't want a public record of what they did. This is them begging for privacy. Will the settlement be public record? Only that a settlement occurred. The terms can be confidential if both parties agree. I thought about that. Part of me wanted the full public trial. Wanted a judge to say out loud, in a courtroom, that my parents were thieves. But another part of me, the part that was exhausted from 8 months of legal warfare, just wanted it to be over. I'll accept $47,500 if they agree to one additional term. What term? A written apology. On record. Admitting what they did. Sarah raised her eyebrows. They'll hate that. I know. She negotiated for 2 days. Finally, Gerald sent back the signed agreement. Settlement terms. David and Michelle Chen agree to pay Jordan Chen $47,500 in full restitution for conversion of trust assets. Payment to be made in one lump sum within 30 days. David and Michelle Chen acknowledge that funds from Patricia Chen's education trust were improperly transferred to Ashley Chen without Jordan Chen's knowledge or consent. David and Michelle Chen acknowledge the harm caused by these actions. It wasn't a full apology, but it was an admission. On record. Legally binding. I signed the settlement agreement on February 28th. The check arrived March 15th. $47,500. Made out to Jordan Chen. I deposited it the same day. After Sarah's 30% contingency fee, I netted $33,250. More money than I'd ever had in my life. Money that should have been mine from the beginning. I paid down $25,000 of my student loans immediately. My debt dropped from $87,340 to $62,340. My monthly payment decreased from $890 to $630. The remaining $8,250 went into savings, an emergency fund, a cushion, something I'd never had before. The legal case was over. But the family consequences were just beginning. Uncle Thomas invited me to Thanksgiving that year. "Your parents aren't coming," he said. "Neither is Ashley. But your Aunt Susan, Aunt Karen, 3 cousins. And I will be there. We'd love to have you." I went. It was the first Thanksgiving in 6 years where I actually felt welcome. Christmas was similar. 2 separate celebrations. Team Jordan at Uncle Thomas's house. Team David and Michelle somewhere else, with Uncle James and Ashley. The family had fractured. Permanently. Some relatives tried to play both sides at first. But eventually, people chose. And most of them chose me. Because most of them had seen the evidence. Most of them had been at that BBQ. Most of them knew the truth. Ashley and I haven't spoken in 3 years. She's reached out a few times, birthday texts, holiday messages, but I've never responded. It's not that I hate her. I don't. But she represents everything I survived. Every moment of being second best. Every dollar that should have been mine. I can't have her in my life without reopening those wounds. My parents tried to reach out twice after the settlement. Once through Uncle Thomas. They want to reconcile. Once through a letter left at my apartment building. "We're sorry for everything. Can we please talk?" I ignored both. Because here's the thing they never understood. You can't steal from someone for 18 months, abandon them at their graduation, fight them in court for 8 months, and then expect forgiveness because you finally paid them back. Some bridges don't rebuild. Some relationships don't heal. And I'm okay with that. It's been 3 years since that courtroom settlement. 3 years since I stood in Uncle Thomas's backyard and made myself visible. 3 years since I stopped begging for scraps from people who never valued me. I'm 25 now. Living in Mountain View in a 1-bedroom apartment that I chose, with furniture I bought, with a rescue dog named Scout who greets me every day like I'm the most important person in the world. I work at Google as a senior software engineer, got promoted last year. My salary is $168,000. I have health insurance. I have stock options. I have a 401 with actual money in it. My student loans are down to $38,000. At my current payment rate, they'll be gone in 3 years. I could pay them off faster with my savings, but my therapist? Yes, I have a therapist now, and she's amazing. Helped me understand that I spent so many years in survival mode that I need to learn how to just live. To save money for things I want, not just things I need. To take vacations, to buy nice dinners, to exist without constantly calculating whether I can afford to exist. So I'm learning. Last month, I went to Hawaii with Emma. A week on Maui. We stayed in a beachfront hotel. We ate at expensive restaurants. We went snorkeling and watched the sunset and did absolutely nothing productive. It was the first real vacation I'd ever taken. I'm learning what it feels like to not be in crisis mode, to not work 3 jobs, to sleep through the night without panic about money. It's strange, It's uncomfortable sometimes, but it's healing. Emma and I are still best friends. She's in grad school at Berkeley now, studying public policy. We see each other twice a month. Her family still treats me like one of their own. Her mom sends me care packages. Her dad texts me dad jokes. They came to my promotion dinner last year and cried proud tears. They're not my parents, but they're family. Uncle Thomas and I have dinner once a month. He asks about work, about Scout, about my life. He tells me stories about Grandma Chen, things I never knew, how stubborn she was, how proud she would have been to see me thrive. She'd be proud of how you fought. He told me last month. She'd be proud that you didn't let them break you. I think about that a lot. My parents and I have had zero contact since the settlement. Not a single word in 3 years. I heard through Uncle Thomas that they downsized to a smaller house. That Dad's still working at 58. That their marriage is strained. That they rarely talk about me. But when they do, it's with vague regret. Not understanding. Just regret that things turned out this way. As if my lawsuit was something that happened to them, rather than consequences they earned. I don't feel guilty about it. I spent 4 years, hell, I spent 18 years trying to earn their love, trying to be good enough, smart enough, accomplished enough, that they'd finally choose me. They never did. And that's on them, not me. Ashley got engaged last year. I saw the announcement on Facebook before I blocked her account. She looked happy. I hope she is. I hope she's built a life that doesn't depend on stolen money and parental favoritism. But I can't be part of that life. Not now. Maybe not ever. Some people think that makes me cold, unforgiving, mean. But those people didn't work 3 jobs while their parents funded their sister's lifestyle with inheritance money. Those people didn't eat ramen for 4 years while their sister went to Cabo. Those people didn't sit in empty seats at Stanford Stadium because their parents chose Nordstrom over their graduation. So those people don't get an opinion. I do have relationships now, though. Real ones. I'm dating someone. His name is Marcus. We met through work. He's kind and steady and thinks I'm brilliant. When I told him about my family, the whole story, not the sanitized version, he didn't tell me to forgive them. He didn't tell me family is forever. He just said, "You deserved better. I'm glad you fought back." That's when I knew I loved him. My Stanford diploma hangs on my apartment wall. Next to it, I framed Grandma's letter, the one my parents hid from me. "You're worth fighting for." I read it sometimes when I'm having hard days. When the old fears creep in, the fears that I'm not good enough, not worth showing up for, not worth celebrating. The letter reminds me that at least one person saw my worth. One person believed I deserved to fight for myself. And I did fight. I fought and I won. Not just the lawsuit. I won my life back. I won the right to exist without constantly performing for people who would never be satisfied. I won peace. That's worth more than $47,500. Looking back now, people sometimes ask if I regret suing my parents, if I wish I'd handled it differently, if I think the money was worth losing my family. And here's my answer. I didn't lose my family. I lost 2 people who used me as a bank account while treating my sister like a princess. I lost people who stole from me, lied to me, and abandoned me. What I gained was self-respect, boundaries, proof that I matter, and a real family-chosen family who shows up, who celebrates me, who doesn't make me beg for basic decency. So no, I don't regret it. 3 years ago, my parents left 2 empty seats at Stanford Stadium. They thought I'd stay silent. They thought I'd keep being invisible. Instead, I filled those seats with witnesses. I filled a courtroom with evidence. I filled my life with people who actually value me. Now I'm sitting in my apartment with my dog and my degree, and my hard-won peace, and I'm building a life they'll never be invited to. They wanted me to be the forgotten child. Instead, I'm the one who got away. And I'm thriving. To everyone listening to this story, if your family steals from you, call it theft. If they abandon you, call it abandonment. If they choose someone else every single time, call it favoritism. You're not being dramatic, You're being honest. And you're worth fighting for. You don't owe loyalty to people who treat you like you're disposable. You don't owe forgiveness to people who never apologized. You don't owe anyone access to the life you built despite them. Some bridges burn for a reason. And sometimes, walking away from the ashes is the bravest thing you can do. I'm Jordan Chen. I survived Stanford with 3 jobs, $87,000 in debt, and parents who stole from me. And now I'm thriving without them. This is Achiever Betrayed.